Okay, this video is to answer a Facebook person's question about Knights and Pages. I struggled with Knights and Pages for sure. So I'm gonna, at some point I did, I know I did, knowing the difference. I definitely think that was one of my beginning problems with tarot. So I'm making this video to sort of clarify the difference, but briefly I'm gonna go over all of the court cards so that you understand the hierarchy here. So the page is below the knight, who is below the king and the queen, who are equals. Okay? You can think of this as beginning, developing, giving, receiving. So page, beginning, knight, developing, king, giving, queen, receiving. Giving and receiving are equal. They are on the same level. The beginning and the developing are below these two. These are ideas that are starting to form. Now that I've gone over that, I'm going to take away the king and the queen, and we're going to go over pages and knights in general. So remember, court cards can represent a lot of things, just like all the cards in tarot can represent more than one thing. There's like layers. There's like a certain kind of, people use the word energy, and I do really like the word energy to kind of describe what they're representing, but they can show up as people, and both pages and knights can show up as messages. So when they are people, a page represents either a child, okay, could be your child, your client's child, somebody's child in the reading, or it can be someone who's much younger than you, or it can be somebody who is younger than expected for the position or the role in your life. But pages speak to youth, okay? Knights, when they are people, are often in their young adults. Knights as people are normally under 30, but over 20. I think of them as people just in their 20s. Knights could also be adolescents though, young adults. A knight is also in your life a person who moves, who is coming towards you, okay? Both knights and pages can be messengers, but pages generally are one-way messengers. And they are about, when they're about communication, they are about one-way communication. You can think of it this way. If the king is sending out a message and he doesn't necessarily need anything to come back, but he needs to send a message to somebody, but he doesn't need to receive any information back, and he also might even be willing to lose the person that he's sending. Unfortunately, that's just a way to think of it. Although the kings, like all of our kings in tarot are like good people. They're good kings, they're not bad kings. But anyway, when he's sending that out, he's going to choose a page. If it's if it's a message where information doesn't gonna have to come back. Page is not as trusted of a member of the court as the knight. Of course, neither one is the king or queen, but a knight is a little bit more trusted. If the king has a message to send out, or the queen has a message to send out, but you know, the reason why I say king is because kings are the givers and queens are the receivers. It's not male, female, although sometimes it is. So, but at any rate, if the king has a message or the queen has a message where something needs to come back, it's not just a one-way communication. He's gonna send a knight. So if you get a page and it's a message, a lot of times it's like a message that was a text message that somebody sent, and they just sent it, they left it. They may have even put their phone down after they sent it. They're not really able to receive anything back yet. They have something to say, but they're not mature or developed enough to be in a conversation. Night energy can be more back and forth communication. It's not as developed as the communication between the king and the queen, though. So night energy is also still immature, even though it's back and forth. It's not the page energy of, I just sent you this message and now I even blocked you, or I turned my phone off so that I can't see what you have to say back, or I'm just, putting it down and not looking at it, and I just hold my breath and close my eyes kind of energy, right? Right? But night energy is a conversation, but it's still not completely mature. So night energy sometimes is harsh, is rude, lacks tact. It's back and forth, but it can sort of lack the total panache and finesse of the king and the queen, which is just a mature communication. So that having been said, right, let's look at some of the ways the different nights and the different pages show up in your readings. Let's talk about pages first. So, Page of Wands, we have beginning energy, young person, new project, new starting. It's like the beginning of something in the suit of wands. So fire, passion, which is also the beginning of something. So this is like the beginning of the beginning. The Page of Wands, right? Page of Cups, we have beginnings of emotions. Oh, so let me just go over a couple of like real concrete things that can the Page of Wands can mean. They can mean somebody who has a sexual attraction for you, because wands a lot of times denote sexual attraction. They can mean somebody who has a sexual attraction for you but hasn't told you about it yet. It's just kind of watching you from afar. It doesn't, if it was a Knight of Wands, right? Maybe let's talk about that now. If it was a Knight of Wands, they might have a sexual attraction for you, and they might have told you about it, and they might want you to give them something back. But a Knight of Wands can be sort of immature in their sexual attraction to you. They can be kind of hot and cold sometimes. They can be in and out. They're probably more unstable Knights. Fire energy tends to be more unstable, right? So let's go over Page of Cups. So Page of Cups is one-way emotion. Page of Cups can signify an apology, but when it is an apology, it's usually like a less mature apology than a Knight of Cups. A Knight of Cups can also be an apology, but a Page of Cups apology can be sort of like one of those, I'm sorry you feel that way. Sometimes the Page of Cups can represent somebody who's seeking forgiveness for selfish reasons. They want to be forgiven, but they don't want to grow from the experience, or they're not ready. We should not say they don't want to, because that's like a judgy way of looking at a page, which sometimes we get a little judgy about our pages because they're babies, they're not ready yet. But they're maybe just not ready to grow emotionally, to grow the relationship. They want to say they're sorry, but they're really not sure what they did wrong, that kind of thing. The Page of Cups also, when it denotes new love, it really is sort of like a puppy love. It's like the very beginnings, like that very beginning stirring of emotion. It can be very one-sided too, because remember, pages tend to be one-sided energy. Whereas the Knight of Cups is a more mature romantic offer. The Knight of Cups is able to consider how their apology sounds. They're able to listen to how you respond to their apology, and then respond again accordingly. The page is one way, the Knight is two ways, but still immature. So Knight of Cups can definitely offer romance. Can be, I love me a Knight of Cups. Like I've said, I love for Knight of Cups to ride into my life. Remember, all the knights are on horses. They ride in. They denote movement. Yeah, But he's not like the king or the queen. The queen is like the ultimate receiver of compassion. She's very nurturing, very compassionate. The king is the ultimate giver of love. He can maintain emotional control in like any situation. The knight isn't there yet. It's still a young and developing energy. Okay, so I went over Knight of Wands, Knight of Cups, Page of Wands, Page of Cups. Let me talk more about knights in general. As far, because I feel like I talked a lot more about pages in general than knights in general. I didn't say about how all of the knights are on horses. Of course, you know, you'll have different decks that show knights not on horses. But the horses are important because they signify things being carried through, right? So knights are movement in the tarot. In general, they are movement towards you or towards the current, towards something. They can be movement away from something, but I find that more frequently they're towards something. Also, the way that the horse is pointed can show you clues in your reading, in your spread. This is why I always say it's good to have a whole spread out on the table, and I like the Celtic cross. But the way that the direction that the knight is facing can show you what the movement is toward or coming away from, going away from and going towards. So if you have a knight, and let's say you have the Knight of Wands, and he's riding towards the King of Pentacles, that's somebody brought up here just randomly, that can show that, and if it's people, it can show this person is approaching this person, okay? Now, in this situation, you might say this person is going away from this person, but the knight is the one that's doing the movement. You can see they're not all facing in the same direction. In the cards, the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords are facing left. The Knight of Cups and the Knight of Pentacles are facing right. Okay. All right. Back to pages. Just go back and forth, right? Way to keep it balanced. Okay. So I talked about Page of Wands, Page of Cups, Page of Swords and Pentacles. So some readers identify this guy as a student. I identify this guy as a student. So to me, this is academia, okay? To some readers, the swords are academia. I can get it. It makes sense both ways. Swords are about communication. They're about thought. So I can get how that could be like a student. But to me, this is the beginning of, to me, academia represents knowledge, and knowledge is Pentacles' world. So, you know, up to you how you see it. Also, the way that you really learn cards, I mean, you can learn cards from me, it's totally fine. You can learn cards from a book, but the way that cards will stick in your mind is when you keep getting a card over and over and over again, and then you see that energy in your life. That's how you really learn the cards. So just doing it over time, you learn a lot. But at any rate, to me, this guy is a student, okay? This represents academia. And this guy he's a watcher. So let's talk about Page of Swords. So remember I said pages are one-way communication, right? One-way messages. When we're dealing with thought, okay, and one-way messages, sometimes this is somebody who's watching your social media without you knowing that they're watching your social media. If they're commenting, right, then that's more knight energy. But if they're just watching, they're watching your story, they're watching your Facebook, you don't even know. There's no way for you to even know. If it's in reverse, it can even be like stalker or spy type energy. But this is like one-way knowledge. They want to know something. They want to receive knowledge without necessarily giving it back in return, okay? Whereas the Knight of Swords, right, is, you can see how fast he's moving. He is moving super, super fast, okay? The Page of Swords is not looking to have a conflict, okay? He's got his sword, but if you look, he's holding it behind him. He's looking at you, and he's got his sword over here. He's not wanting to engage in a conflict. The Knight of Swords will fight. He will fight if he has to, okay? He comes in with a message and he's coming in hot, okay? The Knight of Swords, if you're if you have communication that is rough, sometimes the Knight of Swords can be rough, but the Knight of Swords, one thing he is definitely is he is truthful, okay? The Page of Swords can hide the truth. The Page of Swords is interested in the truth, but the Page of Swords is only interested in receiving the truth. The Knight of Swords is interested in telling you the truth. He's moving towards you with a truthful message. It's something he really, really wants to say, too. The Knight of Swords has not had the time for his energy to mature into the King and Queen, where he can sort of temper what he says, where he can make sure that what he says is being received appropriately, where he can sort of, you know, like temper his words. This is the best way I can say it. So, yeah. So, another way to think, I'll just come back to Pages and Knights in general. Another way to think of the Pages and Knights as you can think of the Page as an immature queen, an immature receiver of energy, and you can think of the Knight as an immature king, like an immature giver of energy. Because this one's moving and this one's, you know, sending a one-way message. You can think of it that way. Whoops, I just put this backwards. It's just like one layer, okay? Let's go over our pentacles, okay? So we've got the Page of Pentacles. Remember I told you that to me, this guy is academia. This is also a guy or lady who's just starting out in the world of work. This is somebody who could be an intern. This is somebody who is, you know, just starting to sort of like lay down the foundations of their career. But they do a really good job of it in general. The Page of Pentacles is a great card. I never have any, you know, I never have issue with the Page of Pentacles. I sometimes don't like the way they communicate. I don't like the way, in general, the way the pages communicate. Like I said, it's a one-sided communication. But the Page of Pentacles, in general, when I see the Page of Pentacles, I'm like, oh, this is a good omen. You know, the Knight of Pentacles has been referred to many times as the slowest moving knight in the deck. And he is, in regard to who moves the fastest, it's the Knight of Swords. Who's next? Knight of Wands. You can see that horse is going kind of fast. Who's next? The Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups, I feel, I don't know horse movement that well, but there is something that's, I think it's called a canter. It's like when a horse is like, tick, 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 and it's like very pretty. That's how I imagine the Knight of Cups arriving. I imagine the Knight of Swords coming in galloping, like just galloping super fast. And I imagine the Knight of Wands kind of like, you know, leaping, like running, not quite a gallop like the Knight of Swords, but still pretty fast. And the Knight of Pentacles is just freaking standing there. You can see that this horse is not even moving. Both of his legs right here in the front are just like, they almost look like one leg. And the back, you can't even see his back legs. So the Knight of Pentacles does have a reputation for not moving fast enough. But the Knight of Pentacles has an intention is setting an intention to make some really solid offer. A lot of times, this is an offer that never truly gets off the ground. That's my experience with the Knight of Pentacles, too. Sometimes you'll see like a lot of Knight energy. And if you end up with a Knight of Pentacles, sometimes it's a person who's kind of, you know, thinking so hard or wanting things to be so solid before they're ready that they don't make enough movement. That's just my experience with the Knight of Pentacles. But same thing that, you know, apply what we know about Knights. It's two-way communication. Apply what we know about Pentacles. It's about money. It's about career. It's about solid things in the world. So, you know, same thing. So I hope this clears some of it up about the differences between the Knights and the Pages. Remember, if you're talking about a person, A page is a child. Page is like under 18 a lot of times. If they're not under 18, it's not an actual child. It's somebody who's very young for the position they're in. A page can indicate like an age gap in a relationship. Pages are new, they're beginnings, they're one-way communication. Knights are a little bit more developed. They are two-way communication, still immature. They denote movement in the tarot. Pay attention in your readings to where your knight is facing. Anybody in your readings, all the people in your readings, pay attention to how the cards are facing each other, because that does show you something. Sometimes you'll see somebody with their back turned to somebody else, right? That tells you something. But especially with the knights, because they're always moving. So whatever it is that they're facing in the reading, they're moving towards. Knights come up a lot for me in the challenge or the obstacle, because that's a lot of times when people come to you for readings, it's making a decision about whether to make movement. So they will come up in the obstacle. Remember that Knight of Cups and Page of Cups both signify an apology, but this apology is a little bit more of a serious apology. This one's a little bit more selfish. Knight of Wands and Page of Wands both sometimes indicate sexual attraction, but this one, he may not tell you about it, and this one, he's going to tell you. Knight of Swords and Page of Swords both are about knowledge and truth, but this guy might be just trying to receive the truth, trying to mine the truth, trying to get the truth or find out the truth. This guy wants to tell you the truth. Page and Knight of Pentacles are both about money, career, building a solid foundation. But this guy is slow about it. He's laying a foundation, but you may not really see anything for a while. Remember that this is my personal representation of what a student card is. A Page of Pentacles is a student to me. It can also be an intern, somebody just starting out in their career or just starting to make money, learning about the world. Okay, and I hope that was helpful.